And I'm at the headquarters this morning, and I was reading an article that caught my attention, and it talked about the best welding schools in America. And would you like to know what the top welding school in America is and why it's the top welding school? And it's ironic that when I read this, I knew that it was probably going to be them. I just didn't know that it was going to be them. And it's actually the top welding school in the country in America is Tulsa Welding School. And I want to just read a small section from this article to kind of give you a little background. It says the largest welding school in the country, Tulsa Welding School, is also known for being one of the top welding schools available, offering training in welding, pipe fitting, HVAC, refrigeration, and electrical work. Tulsa Welding School boasts a graduate rate of 67.4%, according to Niche. The tuition for this Oklahoma school is approximately 25,000 a year, and enrollment is just around 900 undergraduate students. Although Tulsa Welding School offers its students a relocation assistance program, the school has campuses in Houston, Texas, Florida, Jacksonville, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, I wanted to come to you a little bit and just talk to you about that because the reason I am a welder, the reason I became a welder was literally behind Tulsa Welding School promotion, their ads, their branding. You got to think every company has a brand, like Nike, like Adidas, like Coke. We got these different brands that we buy into. And I have heard when my mother introduced me to welding and introduced welding to me while I was incarcerated, she brought to me, well, before she brought me the literature that she sent me, she talked to me about a commercial she seen about Tulsa Welding School. She seen them graduate. She seen them get different jobs. Some traveled, some did pipe, and it was just talking about the dynamics of the school. And since I'm from the streets and I was incarcerated at the time, I got incarcerated at 16, and I got incarcerated from 16 to 26 years old, just to give you a little background on me. During that time, my mom came and visited me while I was in prison. And actually, during this time, I was actually 17 when she introduced the concept to me. She came on visitation and she was telling me about, well, asking me about what am I going to do after my 10 years of incarceration. And really, it was a good question. We talked about it because I really didn't know. And I told her, Mom, I don't know. I know I need to get a GED. I don't have that, so I know I need to get that. And she was like, okay, that's one plan. And then she was like, well, I know they offer programs in the prison, and they did. One thing, Bill Clinton laws did two things, especially for the African Americans. It locked us, it incarcerated a lot of us for charges that necessarily we shouldn't have been incarcerated for, or we shouldn't have had that much time for. And most definitely for the juveniles who was incarcerated, we shouldn't have went to a penitentiary, a grown man's penitentiary, for half or majority of the charges they sent people down there for. But they had a program that I can say that Bill Clinton introduced into or helped, or whoever helped put it in there, but it was part of his office anyway, that helped put the educational system in the Arkansas Department of Corrections. So they established a educational system where you could actually get, yes, sir, yes, sir. I'm trying to give just a little game. They dropped some educational systems inside the prison systems to help the juveniles who actually went down there at a young age, and those who was incarcerated for different problems. It was kind of like, well, I know we did wrong this way, but see if we can help them this way. But they had criterias on the education on what you had to do and actually to get it. But they offered free, real college courses, real or technical trades, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, welding. Um, they did computer repair. Um, they did cooking. I think it was like a couple more that was in there, but the trades was solid trades. And when my mom came to me, the thing that she spoke to me was Tulsa Welding School. Like, I can't tell you, like, it was religious. Like, she spoke it to me. Tulsa, this is what I seen. The commercial was like awakening to her. You know what I mean? She was like, I need to share this with my son because she knew I was used to fast money. I'm from the crack era. I was raised by the that epidemic. So I grew up. I'm an 80s baby. I was born in 1980, March the 29th, just to give you a little background on my age. I'm born in 1980, March the 29th. Um, and I experienced the revolution and the epidemic of crack cocaine and what it did to our communities. Like I witnessed it. I seen family members. I seen friends. I seen people that I love either die from it, turn into dope fiends, turn into drug dealers, go to prison forever, get killed. Um, I witnessed a lot through that era, and I was actually 16 when I got incarcerated for 2 counts of aggravated robbery, um, aggravated assault, residential burglary, theft of property, and possession of a controlled substance. So as you see, I had a troubled past, you know what I mean? But it was all due to the environment I was in. They say that we are a product of our environment, and that's true. Like you can't expect to get a diamond from a place that doesn't produce diamonds. You know what I mean? Like there was no way for us to shine besides of the street life, and that's how we kept our, that was the little glory that we had in the little town, that I was from, that I was, raised in. So my mom introduced me to Tulsa Welding School, and those words when she told me they make X amount of dollars an hour, I think she's seen where one was making $100 an hour doing underwater welding. She was like, "Well, you might don't want to do the underwater welding because it says the life expectancy don't isn't that long, and you shouldn't do it for that long. But you can make good money doing, things in the shop, fabricating and going in the field and repairing things." She had been really watching it, so she planted that seed in me, man. Here I am incarcerated, 16, 17 years old, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Literally, I did not know what I was going to do. I just knew I had 10 calendars to do. So, literally, I remember when the judge told me how much time I had, and I remember him looking at me, and literally, he looked at me and he said, "Son, I hope this situation, I hope this time wakes you up. I hope you use it. I hope it does something for you. You're too young, but you got to be corrected for your errors." So I had to literally take it like a man. I remember counting on my hand. I was in the courtroom at 16 years old. I'm counting. I said 26 years old. That's still young. I'll be all right. It's not that crazy. That's how I had to rationalize doing a decade in prison. And so when my mom introduced me to Tulsa Welding School, man, it was a breath of fresh air for me. Now, most might wonder, did I go? No, I didn't. I never been to Tulsa Welding School. I actually drove through there, but I never been inside the facility. I've talked to hundreds of people who been in the school and graduated, but I have only seen the school. But the school motivated me to do what I am doing today. I can't lie, like what my mom sent me, the information she gave me, like it literally motivated me to be who I am. And it was that ad, and then she sent me some information. You remember back in the day before the Google was hit hard, we used to go to the library. My mom actually went to the library and copied some papers out the encyclopedia of what they had that she could get, and she sent them to me. I remember it was like a little envelope, and she kind of put like 10 papers in there, man, and it had some photos and some pictures of what people was doing and why people weld and what you can make and the career and where you can go what's the states that makes the most money at that time, And I remember, man, I went over that paper religiously. Like, it was like, how you got to find a hope when you're in a situation and you feel hopeless, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. That welding information, that Tulsa Welding School paper gave me hope in prison. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And even though I never went to the Tulsa Welding School, like I say, it still motivated me to be one. So once I was able and I got short enough on my time to get into the program, I took combination of welding. They had a combination of welding program at the VOTEC unit in Vernon, Arkansas. And I went down there and I took that program, and that program was for 14 months. They stretched it out for 14 months, but the hours of the program was 1440. So it was 1440 hours that I received from that, and it was in combination of welding in 4 positions. It was TIG, MIG, and stick. We started with stick, MIG, and went to TIG last, was the last process. Um, the one thing that I do like about that school, the instructor, we was told before I got in there, it was actually 3 black guys, 2 black guys that went in with me. We was both told, hey man, that guy is racist. Even the officers told us about this guy. Hey man, I don't know if you want to get in that welding class, man. You might not make it out, man. I know that's a good one, but that white dude, he don't like teaching black people. Even the officers was telling us this. We was like, man, the other two, one of the guys was like, man, what y'all gonna do? Looking at me and my other dude that I met, he was actually from Cleveland. And I hope his name is Jamel Jackson. I hope he's doing good right now, man. I don't know. I haven't kept in contact with him, but I really hope he's doing good. But he was from Cleveland. And we was like, hey, man, we're going to be the first black welders, man. I mean, even in prison, because it was like not unheard of. Even in Arkansas, they was like, man, black welders, come on now. You know what I'm saying? Very few that you're going to see. And we was like, man, we're going to be good. We're going to get this stuff. And bro, we was like, forget it. We went in there head first. We like, we're going to learn it. And just so happened, the guy wasn't, I'm I'm gonna say he wasn't racist. He probably had some prejudice because due to where he was raised, because he literally told me that he was raised in a community in a high school that didn't have blacks. None of that. They didn't have blacks where they was from. He had to go outside of town, and by the time he seen one, he was kind of made like it wasn't where he was from. He didn't see it. So there are towns like that in Arkansas to this day. You know what I'm saying? Um, there's probably be some sprinkled in there, brothers in there here and there now, but on a majority scale, that's just what it was. And the guy said, I feel like, I don't have nothing to say about. I feel like there's pieces of shit in every race. That's what he said. That was his term. He said, hey man, there's pieces of shit in every race, man. I ain't got no problem against nobody. I just don't like lazy people. And so honestly, he hit it off with actually all of us. We was cool, all of us laugh and joke with him. But me and the other guy, Jamel, we actually graduated the top of the class, and I actually graduated to become his helper. Jamel also he wanted us to be like his helpers to help the other class when they come through. But I wanted to leave and go to another unit to actually start using my welding. And then I knew I was getting at home soon, so I wanted to get some on the job training in prison because you can do that. They work you. You don't get nothing, but they work you. You know what I mean? You get soap. I think in Arkansas they didn't pay you. They gave you soap, razors, and toilet tissue every so often. You know what I mean? That was part of your hygiene, and then you get like a stimulus. I mean, like an indigent check if you don't have any money. If don't nobody send you nothing, they make sure you can get your monthly hygiene items, so you can get those regardless. So if you don't have none, you still able to get your hygiene items once a month. So they had different little setups in the prison, but regardless, it was a structure that I had to use personally to get over the hump. So I used that time, and I used that time in there to keen in on my skills. Like, and it was crazy that the guy that taught me, he was a pipe welder and a fabricator, and he told me that learn that stick. He used to always tell me, learn how to manipulate that stick because you're gonna always get money in the field, fabricating, whatever. He was like, learn that stick and learn that wire. Learn both of them because you'll be always be able to make money. So as soon as we finished the regular courses, the first thing he started us doing was fabricating trailers. Like we was making 2-wheel and 4-wheel trailers, probably doing them for friends of his. They'll buy all the material and we'll make everything. You know what I mean? But it was the Tulsa Welding School that got me into that situation. And then, believe it or not, when I was incarcerated, when I got released from being incarcerated in 2006, I received my first job welding. I was actually welding aluminum and stainless, even though I was a steel welder too. And they asked me, "Can I do?" I said, "I do everything." Well, they was like, "Well, we really need aluminum and steel weld." I said, "I can do that too." So I just jumped in, and it was all easy welds, um, flat welds, pretty much flat and horizontal welds. Um, and that was my first job, man. And my first job welding wasn't the big check. You know how we always, man, I get out of school, I'm gonna get this big check. I was making $8 an hour, bro. Getting out of prison, I was 26 years old. I was in a town called Newport, Arkansas, and I was making $8 an hour, bro. And it was humbling, but at the time, I was like, you know what? I just did 10 years. I wasn't making nothing, so forget it. I was happy to get that $8. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I worked hard every 40 hours a week, But the crazy part about it, it took 2 weeks to maybe 3 weeks that they called me in the office, and due to my work ethics, maybe the guy was like, "Hey man, we really cheating this dude. We about to give him something to keep him around." So I went from $8 to $10 on that same job within the month times, like no BS. And it was all because of the skill set, and I was determined. And then I left that job, and then I started going up. But in Arkansas, they had like a cap on it. I ain't gonna lie, like depends on who you're working for, and especially being a black man, I'm just being honest, there was, you was only going to get so far, or you was going to have to go through a whole lot. So I almost gave up on welding in Arkansas because of the prejudice and racist things that I faced in the jobs doing different things to me, that I was like, you know what, man, I'm through with this. I'm gonna try something else. And literally, I stopped welding, and I didn't go to another job. I just started pursuing business ideas, and pursuing ways to be an entrepreneur. That's when it really kicked in me. Actually, when I first jumped out on my own, literally being an entrepreneur, doing my business was I was 2000. I'm gonna say 2010, end of 2010, beginning of 2011 is when I really kicked it off. So I'm gonna say 2000. Let me see, 2010. Yeah, I'm gonna say 2011 is when I really kicked it off, and then 2013 is actually when I first got a building. You know what I mean? I had a truck. I was doing power washing. I power wash cars, buildings, and I did they driveways. I bought me a little driveway scrubber thing, had me a little Suburban I had hooked up, put some logos on the back window, and I was networking. I had to figure out that, hey man, I got to be independent. And welding was my passion, but I couldn't get no money out of it. And then situations happened, and I ended up finding a job. I had made an investment, and it just went sideways, and I had to come up with something. So my girlfriend at the time was like, "Man, you're a welder. You should go on and try it." And I was like, "Man, I can't get no money from it, man. It's just like it's just too oppressive." You know what I mean? And then especially me being incarcerated doing time, like, man, surely I can find something else. So I was in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I ended up running across a iron worker job. So I ended up becoming an iron worker, which technically I was an iron worker welder, but in that little town I was in, we just said we was field welders. Like it was just a country town, but we did everything. I had the harness, I knew the procedures, but I didn't know the correct terms and technology, um, the equipment, as far as what I needed to actually get the job done. You know what I mean? So when I went to Fayetteville, I actually signed up, and I became an iron worker welder. And after they seen my performance, I got the most there. So I ended up making a check there. I got $20 an hour. And being black in Arkansas, being a welder out of prison, making $20 an hour, you doing good. Like I had, if I just wanted a job at that time, I could have just settled and got a job and worked hard and got toys and you know got some stuff and got a house or something and stayed in the community. I could have did that, but that just wasn't where I was at. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to. I didn't want to get stuck in that, but I had to learn. So I used that job to go to the ENCCER Ironworkers Journeyman School, and I went to that and gave me more information that added to my welding trades. And then I was like the lead welder on the job. Now I'm making 20, and I remember my supervisor, one of the supervisors, was making 18, so he wasn't even making more than me. And the guy even told me, and see, that's what certain jobs will do. They be like, hey, don't tell nobody what you making, because we probably paying you a little bit more. We don't want to get the guys in their feelings. That's what they used to say in Arkansas, especially when I was making money like that. To them, that was a lot, for them to pay a black man $20 an hour in Arkansas, in Fayetteville, Arkansas. That was kind of, unheard of. But when you're not in a corporate position, or you ain't no manager under somebody, or got a lot of paperwork or someone over you, so it was kind of unheard of. But I did that though. I accomplished it. In doing that, that's when I struck out on my independence. Like I worked for that job and I saved my money. And I remember they had allowances where you could get $500 a month to get tools or whatever you need, and you just had to pay it back, but you could do it every month. So once the dude told me that, I'm like, really? Okay. So I turned it into like a savings out of my check. I worked so much, and then I get my tools. Okay, I buy this tool, get these, get my harness, get this, get that, get that. So I got to building up all the things I needed before I struck out on my independence. And believe it or not, I'm sharing this story because when I left with two other welders who left with me when I actually started off independent. I was actually working for another company, but I was still freelancing. I was actually making two checks. I was working as a foreman. I was making $27 an hour. And I had two guys with me. The other guy, he was a foreman with me. And then I had the other guy, he was our top welder. And all of us was welders though. And then I was getting paid an extra $35 an hour when I used my equipment, because I had my own equipment. We traveled and did installs. So I could make a check making 35, and then I had a check making 27, you know what I mean? So it was a good thing. Like, and then I got my wife on as a helper, as a welder helper, and I taught her how to weld and run machinery, which she was, doing the forklift and the sky tracks and boom lifts and stuff like that. The Genie, she can run that. So it was a big plus once I taught her. Because see, that's a good thing about your trade. Once you learn and you embrace all the information that you got, man, the stuff you can teach your family, your kids, your friends, your associates. Like, we can really change the game with this welding. But we have to embrace it and not just be a welder. And I want to say something else too about Tulsa Welding School, because they do get a bad they do got a bad jacket in the streets from other people in jobs and throughout the country. I had met, a lot of times if you say you from Tulsa Welding School, they be like, Tulsa, oh, nah, because a lot of them, all they want to do is weld. And you can have a job where that's all you're going to do. But in life, you're going to have to learn how to do multitask. You're going to have to learn how to do a few other things. And that's what make people give, I think, Tulsa a bad rap, because a lot of their students who get out of there, they just know how to weld. And some of them are good welders. I'm not going to lie. I met a couple females, a couple dudes, man, that was damn good welders, but that was all they could do. They couldn't think. All they could do was burn a rod. If you get everything set up, they'll make it happen. And some of them couldn't even set their machines right. Some of them could, but then when it comes to burning that rod and making it look like it need to look, oh, they was on point. You know what I mean? But there's more to it to be a great welder than to just burn a rod or firing up some flux or TIGging. There's more to it. It's, laying out fabrication, learning how to read prints, just basic prints, basic structural drawings. You know what I mean? Not nothing extreme, but just learn how to do the basics. And once you learn the basics, you can do the extreme, because it's just more to it, but it's still the same. You know what I mean? You'll be able to see, okay, this is what we need to do. You know what I mean? Okay, this is how I need to find this part of the plan or whatnot. And, some things are going to be, you're going to have growing pains. Ain't nothing easy. Like when you're trying to do something and you're getting yourself together to do it, it's not going to be easy to adjust yourself to the frame of, hey, man, I got to do this and this too. I can be the engineer, the fabricator, and the welder, because that's what I consider myself as, the engineer, the fabricator, and the welder, because I can come up with something. I can lay it out in a certain way for it to get done. Then I can actually put it together, fabricate it, and make sure, fit it up and make sure it's fitted up, and then I weld it out. So there's a 3-step process when you're being independent, but using all of those are an asset. And honestly, I learned a lot of that on the job training. So I don't knock no one for going to school, because I went to school in prison. And if it wasn't for me being incarcerated, I probably wouldn't have went. I'm going to be honest with you. But I was incarcerated and I utilized the time. I got my GED. I got my VOTEC trade, and I went to college for small business management. I did all of that in a sale in a 10-year period. VOTEC, GED, college and small business, and then any information that I could wrap around that to motivate me to be better at who I am. And honestly, I'm steady, constantly learning, because it was a fact that an old man told me when in prison. He said, "Son, the more you learn, the more you're gonna realize you don't know shit." Because we don't. The more information you know, the more you're gonna realize you got to keep learning and to keep applying. So Tulsa Welding School is one of the top welding schools in the country. And a cool thing about them, they do have 3 locations. As I said, they have a location in Houston, Texas, in Jacksonville, Florida, and in Tulsa. So for those, I know different brothers that follow me have went to schools, and I think I got different people that went to schools in each one of those locations that I network with or I'm familiar with, talk to or whatnot. But it's a good school, man. It is what it is. But I think that the main thing that helps it be big is the promotion and how they promote it and hit the market hard with their promotion and with their advertisement. And if you build it, like they say, they will come. So you have to keep your mind open to how they got established by the promotion, by producing good welders. Like it says, the graduation thing is one thing. They got a 67.4 people a percent of people who graduates. That does something good to in that niche. So that's a good percentage, man. So all I want to say is that we should do your research when you picking your schools. There's many welding schools throughout the country. There's many small community colleges. There's many small welder instructors, tutors who can help you, that's in the area. So if you're trying to build your independence and you want to go to the top school, Tulsa is a top school. That's just what it is. Actually, the top 3 schools, I'm going to give you the top 3 because I got the top 3. Here's Tulsa School, is the Elite Welding Academy in Ohio and Cincinnati, and it's Pennsylvania College of Technology. So those are the top 3 schools in the country. So that's like in the U.S. as of now from this article that I read. So it might change. I don't see how old this article is, which I don't think it's that old. But most definitely, man, it's just something to know. Something to know that should you go to the school just because of the promotion? Should you go to it just because of what they do or the name and you feel proud? Some people get involved in certain things just because so they can say, "Oh, I went to so and so." He said, "Man, where you go?" "I went to so and so," and they be proud of it. Ain't nothing wrong with it, man. I don't knock what you do to get your independence. All I say is I would like for you to be independent, turn a trade into a business, and that's what I specialize in my program in the school that I'm building up with HogOn Welding. It's more of an independent school, so it's not like a accredited school. I'm going to be doing hands-on training and helping different people in the community get trades who thought they couldn't, who thought they had to have a GED, a high school diploma, who thought they had to um, go in debt or go to college. And most of these schools that you go to, they're going to require you to have some type of form of education. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna teach you how to get a trade so that way you can set yourself free. So if you don't have no education, you still can get the trade in welding. So I'm located in Oklahoma City. I just moved in from Phoenix, Arizona, but I am from Little Rock, Arkansas. So for those who want to network with me in the Oklahoma City area, keep me in your contacts. It's hogonwelding@gmail. So if you know a friend around the Oklahoma City, Midwest City, this whole area, hey, send them to me. Hopefully I have my first small facility that I'm gonna be. I'm gonna call it a cafe. So the school is gonna be called HogOn Cafe, and it's gonna be a multi-purpose setup. But I'm gonna be doing a few different things at this setup. But the goal is to show you how to network yourself, to turn a trade into business, because I think in my personal opinion, we have enough people in society that has jobs. We have enough people looking for employment, but I think we don't have enough bosses and independent people who actually started businesses and doing something productive in the community. So I want to start bosses. So if you want to have a job, that's fine. I can teach you to make money. But if you want to turn a trade into a business, that's what I specialize in with HogOn Welding. I'm out. Y'all be blessed.